Consumer Choice Award medal winner as well. Whether you're sipping it neat, on the rocks, mixing your favorite cocktail, T3 Vodka, your choice for a premium award-winning experience. Be like Maury Hanks. Score a T3 TD. Ask for T3 Vodka by name at restaurants and wine and liquor stores today. Drink it neat, drink it right, and score a T3 TD all 2026 long. Tennessee's Premium Vodka, T3, Tennessee's Premium Vodka, distributed by Empire Distributors of Tennessee.
Big news, Basilio family. Get ready because the 2026 Knoxville real estate market is officially shifting into high gear. All signs are pointing toward a record-breaking year, and the energy across East Tennessee is absolutely electric right now. Whether you've been dreaming of finding that next home, looking to capitalize on your current equity, or ready to dive into the investment world, the timing has never been better. Having a game plan is the key to winning in this fast-paced market, and I'm ready to help. Give me a call, Jennifer Morris, at 865-694-5904, or reach out at nextmovesmokymountains.com. That's nextmovesmokymountains.com, and go Vols.
Baseball fans, it's time to step up to the plate. Look your best. Get some new Tennessee gear from Alumni Hall. Alumni Hall has the best selection. Top brands for you to choose from this season. Look, it's nice and warm outside, so get into any of their 6 air-conditioned East Tennessee locations. Shop online, download the app, grab your Tennessee baseball jersey, your hat, your decal, maybe a t-shirt, and they have so much more. Earn $10 in rewards for every $150 you spend. Go Vols and shop Alumni Hall, your ultimate Tennessee shopping destination.
Coleman is back in Knoxville, but does that mean he is firmly on the roster and firmly going to be on the team and playing in the 2026 season? We'll discuss that. To also talk the NBA playoffs. Game 7 on Saturday. The Spurs and the Thunder, and San Antonio goes into Oklahoma City, gets a win, and punches their ticket to the NBA Finals. We'll talk about the Knicks and the Spurs, this year's NBA Finals matchup, in addition to recapping Game 7. And we'll wrap it up, as always, with our final thoughts. Plenty to cover on a Monday. So happy you're here. If you're on that YouTube live stream, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss any fan-run content this time of year. And with the baseball transfer portal about to ramp up, we'll have you covered on that. and a number of things for Tennessee football to keep an eye on as well. So a good reminder, like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and we want to hear from you as well. Use that comment section. Enjoyed seeing some of our listeners this past Friday at the Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria watch party for Tennessee baseball. Good to see Buck. Buck gave me a Surfside. I appreciate that. Also gave him some T-shirts. He's been asking for some in the comments for a couple of months now, and we were probably a little bit late on that, but I brought him a couple of T-shirts, and in return, he gifted me a Surfside, so I really appreciate that. Good to see Roberto and others as well. But before we get into the rest of the show, let's welcome in the rest of the crew, beginning with Brett, who's back this week. Brett, how are you?
I'm good. A little worn out. It was a busy soccer weekend for me. I was in Winston-Salem doing a soccer showcase, college showcase. A bunch of our teams here locally were over there playing in that, get some exposure and stuff, which is great for the kids to have some colleges look at them and things like that. So it was cool experience. First time I've really done that either. So that was good. And, the club season ended officially for soccer as well. That was a tough result for my guys. Me and Will were the big Arsenal fans.
Yes.
We took a big loss on a tough loss on Saturday afternoon. So, but now it's on to the World Cup, which starts here in like 10 days. So it's a big summer for the soccer nation out there. So, but happy to be back, and some positive, some bad, some negative for Vol country. So, but excited to talk about it all.
Yeah, big summer for the footy people.
That's right. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, not footsie.
The whole world is coming into the States.
Yeah,
Mexico and Canada, I guess, too. But, big summer ahead.
Well, Garrett is back this week as well. Took a little bit of time off after a grueling semester of work, and now he's back for the summer.
Hoover,
Garrett, how are you? Huh?
Hoover, too. I thought you were saying grueling Hoover tournament.
Well, a grueling semester of work, and he also, I guess it was grueling in Hoover as well.
It was,
Still a cool experience nonetheless.
Yeah.
We heard from him not too long ago as he called in from Hoover, but obviously since then Tennessee baseball has gone a different direction. Haven't had much traveling to do since then. But Garrett, how are you?
Yeah, doing good. Like you said, went to the SEC baseball tournament for the whole week. That was something I've kind of always wanted to do. Went to all 15 games. So definitely a bit of a grind, but got some good content out of it. It was fun to go see all the different fan bases, all the people that traveled there. It's a fun environment for a big baseball tournament like that before you get into the regionals and stuff. So that was a good time. And then was at a wedding this past weekend outside of Charlotte, and watched a bunch of baseball this weekend. The regional games, we got 6 winner-take-all games today, so excited to watch those. Hoping for some upsets. St. John's maybe can beat Florida State. Milwaukee against Auburn. Cal Poly won the UCLA regional. So a lot of fun stuff happened yesterday. Hit an 8-leg college baseball parlay yesterday. So that helped the bank account a little bit.
Wow, look at him. Rolling in with some cash.
Yeah.
No wonder.
No wonder he stopped at Whataburger.
I know. Yeah. Whataburger, that might be the last time he does that. Next, it's Lonesome Dove downtown.
He's not going to be here next time.
Yeah.
Must hit a parlay.
Caleb, to you, how are you on this Monday?
Yeah, we're feeling good over the weekend. Watched some baseball. Not the greatest outcomes we wanted, but had some good baseball last night as well. And then went to some movies with the girlfriend was in town, so I took her to see some stuff. Played a little bit of golf. So not so much ready to talk about Tennessee, but ready to talk some baseball today.
There you go. Well, good stuff. Well, let's get into it. Our first things first topic today will be Tennessee's season coming to a close on the diamond as number 20 Tennessee had its season end at the hands of the VCU Rams. I guess we get to take their point guard and they get to take our Tennessee baseball season. Saturday afternoon is a 5-4 loss for the Volunteers in the Chapel Hill Regional at Boshemer Stadium?
Not sure.
Boshemer Stadium in North Carolina. But regardless, a couple of missed opportunities in the early innings proved costly as the Volunteers left 5 runners on base, kind of a theme this past weekend for Tennessee, and that included 3 in scoring position over the first 2 frames. Despite that, Tennessee got the party started with Reese Chapman. He got a 2-run homer in the top of the 3rd inning, but the Rams were able to respond the rest of the way and answer back with a leadoff solo home run from Trent Adelman in the bottom of the 3rd, and it looked like they would tie the game later on, and eventually VCU got cooking and got a differential that was too tall for Tennessee to overcome. And the season comes to an end for Tennessee baseball. We'll begin with our takeaways from Saturday. And, when you play an extra innings matchup on Friday against East Carolina, you use Cam Appenzeller, you use a couple of arms that we're not anticipating to throw. You knew that Saturday was going to be pretty limited, and when Tegan Coons comes down with the stomach virus or whatever type of illness he had, that immediately threw a wrench in things as well. You only got 4 innings out of him. You would have liked to have seen him go, 6 innings or something closer to that, but you get 4 innings out of Coons, and then quickly the woes of the bullpen were showcased for Tennessee, and that was kind of a issue throughout the season, something you knew would come up if Tennessee were to continue to play in the NCAA tournament this year. But one of the big things we harped on last week was you got to win that first game. You got to get ahead of the chain. Tennessee not able to do that in a thrilling extra innings fashion on Friday. And that really put them behind the 8 ball on Saturday. And give credit to VCU, the winners out of the A-10. They're a gritty group, not a team that necessarily pops it out of the park every at-bat, but one that is very strategical in their approach. And I thought you saw that with a couple of smaller hits, some bunts, just getting guys in position, and they were able to capitalize on those moments. They were able to capitalize with guys in running or scoring position, unlike Tennessee throughout the weekend. And ultimately, just not enough effort on the mound and not enough complimentary football for Tennessee to come out with a win on Saturday and continue their season in Chapel Hill. So disappointing end to the year. Garrett, to you, your takeaways from Saturday's matchup specifically.
Kind of same thing you saw on Friday. The inability to get runs in. 1 of 17 on the weekend with runners in scoring position. It's not going to win you many games, especially not postseason games. VCU, they kind of threw the kitchen sink at you. They had, their number 1 starter starting the game, and then they had their bullpen arm come in that had a 1.8 ERA or whatever it was, best ERA in the entire A-10. So, they had a solid pitching staff. They knew that those 2 guys were going to go out there. They were doing everything they could to win that game and to live another day. And credit to them. They have the youngest Division I coach in the country, 30 years old, and they've turned their program completely around and got the win at the hands of Tennessee. But you just got to be able to get the ball in play. When you have guys on second and third base with 1 outs, you don't have to hit doubles or home runs. You simply just have to put the ball in play. And you saw their starters breaking ball working really well. You had a lot of strikeouts from balls that you were chasing in the dirt that obviously started in the strike zone and didn't finish there. But just the inability to, hit a fly ball to center field and drive in a run, or hit a ground ball to shortstop and advance another guy, 90 feet, just things like that. And when you're swinging and missing and you're not putting the ball in play, you're not able to create runs, and you saw that a bunch of times where the leadoff hitter, on bat got on base, and you couldn't do anything with it. So it was kind of a shame that, Appenzeller had his best 2-inning performance of the season probably there in the 8th and 9th inning, and you couldn't score any runs for him. But again, if you go 1 for 17 with runners in scoring position, that's always pretty much almost always going to end up in the loss column. So obviously, we'll get to what needs to be fixed this offseason, but I think your approach on especially 2-strike counts is something that you really need to see, things change next season.
I'm going to ask a question. I didn't really get to see this game, but
Sure.
It seems just looking at box score, we're leading. Why, if you're planning on possibly using Appenzeller, why not use him when you're leading instead of going to what do you do, Frederick, it looks like?
Yeah.
Seems like, why wouldn't you use Appenzeller? Were you just hoping to maybe get the lead and then have him? Because I don't know. If you're planning on using a guy, you have the lead. Let's go nail this down. I don't know if your guys' thoughts on any of that. Just from reading the box score, I didn't physically get to watch it.
Well, I think, again, in terms of the pitching, you got thrown off on Friday when you had to go through. Are you referring to Saturday's game or Friday's?
Yeah. Since we're talking about VCU, I've seen Appenzeller throw 2 1/3,
Sure.
2 2/3, of 5 strikeouts, no hits, no runs.
Yeah.
And it looks like you had a lead, or at least tie. It was tied in the 4th, or they took the lead. I don't know. That's just visually what I'm looking at here.
Sure.
I just seeing what was the deal was that.
Well, I think just in general, you got thrown off on Friday having to go extra innings, and you got a couple of strong performances there. But, ultimately you knew the Achilles heel of this team was going to be your bullpen. And, when Tegan Coons is only able to go 4, that threw another wrench in. And,
that's true.
Brady Frederick, really tough outing for him. His submarine ball is difficult to hit maybe in the midweek, but when it's out of control and allows for, VCU to add an extra guy onto the base. And he also I think one of the big hits was into left field and in a spot where you couldn't get to it, and boom, in 20 pitches, now you've opened up another additional 2 runs for the Rams. So I really just think it all kind of goes back to Friday in terms of your game plan and your approach, and kind of the timeline of who goes in where, and Tegan Coons only going 4, I think, then added to that. So I think ultimately is just, you were just off track. You were just off your timeline is the main way I look at it. And Caleb, we were there on Friday watching the action against East Carolina, but specifically on Saturday, what was lacking? What went wrong for Tennessee there?
It kind of just feels like everything went wrong. I mean, you knew going into this regional, even just from Friday, that you needed a perfect storm to have a chance in this regional. You had to losing that game on Friday. There was really no chance of us coming back. Even if we did beat VCU, we had no arms to go out there and beat possibly North Carolina twice. Like, I think Coons didn't have the worst game in the world. I mean, he didn't throw great at all. I mean, he's done much better this season, but I've also he could have had a worse performance. And then I'm with Brett. I think you bring in Cam right here, because I think that's kind of one thing that I felt from like the last half of the season on. I felt like some of Elander's pitching decisions were kind of just like, let's save this guy for this, like the future. And sometimes I think you just got to go out there and throw your best guy to win the game in front of you, especially when you're at this point in the season. And like you said, with Frederick and his different arm slot, like you said, it works good in the midweek when you're playing against guys that have never seen it before. But at this point in the season, everybody's seen somebody with an arm slot like that, so it's not as much of an advantage, especially when you're 4-pitch walking guys. It's I don't know. It's just watching the game. I kind of quit watching after VCU took the lead. I kind of lost interest at that point. But it's this. It kind of just feels like we just took the January, December version of this team and plopped them in this region, just not being able to hit the ball, bullpens all over the place, and it's disappointing. But you kind of knew from the start that the bullpen was going to be the downfall of you, and your bats had to make up for it, and they didn't this week.
Well, UT out-hit VCU 10-7 for the game, as Brett alluded to earlier, and had 7 different players finish with a hit, including multi-hit days from Garrett Wright, Trent Grinlinger, and Reese Chapman. And with their appearance in this year's Chapel Hill Regional, the Big Orange extended their NCAA tournament streak to 7 straight, building on their program record. However, coming into Chapel Hill, since 2021, Tennessee was 15-1 in regional games. 0-2 this weekend, and a disappointing result to end the first year under Josh Elander. And, like the East Carolina game, it's just one of those spots where you've got to find a way to win if you're going to go into that many extra innings, and Tennessee was ultimately not able to do that. But, credit to Henry Ford for stepping up and making a big play in the 9th inning, keeping that game alive. But you had opportunities time and time again. And we've talked all season, complementary baseball, whether that be getting good pitching and also being productive at the plate, or also playing complementary baseball within your offense or within your defense and being able to bring guys in to home plate when you've got guys in running position, scoring position. Tennessee was horrible with that on Saturday. I believe it was 1 out of 10. Were able to actually touch home base. So that's an issue. That's not going to win you games. That's how you get eliminated. That's how you lose in 13 innings to the Pirates. And that was the case. And overall, just a disappointing showing. A disappointing showing from one of the most talented teams in the country. East Carolina's a good team. North Carolina's a good team. VCU was one of the best 4 seeds out of all the regions. They did a great job in the A-10. But ultimately, Tennessee baseball at this point in time is one of the best programs in the modern era, and has a higher expectation and a higher standard than going 0-2, let alone losing to a team like VCU. Tennessee's a more talented team than VCU. You should be able to go into a game like that and get a win just sheerly off of your talent. And I know throughout the weekend, there have been occurrences of a UCLA dropping to teams that are, I guess, on paper worse than them, lesser than them. Milwaukee, knocks out Auburn in the first game. Obviously, they'll get a rematch. But what I'm saying is there are moments in baseball where, the better team on paper is going to lose, and that's just how it is. But dropping back-to-back games against teams that you were better than is not a very common occurrence if you're a team to the level of Tennessee baseball at this point. And just disappointment is really my word to characterize it. Garrett, to you, overall this weekend, including Friday's contest, your takeaways from Tennessee in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it's disappointing for sure. The ECU game, as much as you hate to lose that game in extra innings, ECU's a very proud program. They are a mid-major team, but they've had their success in postseason baseball. What really grinds your gears, though, is losing to VCU the next day. And, as we've said, in college baseball, there's more upsets in this tournament than there is in any other tournament. There's more upsets in this than there is March Madness, and that's because you have a guy like VCU had that comes out there and he pitches, 90, 100 pitches, however many pitches he threw, and he's throwing your lineup off plate. And then, they have a relief pitcher that comes in with a sub-2 ERA, and you have a couple good pitchers on a team, and you can knock out a top team in the country. And that's what VCU did. And look, Tennessee, they didn't play to their potential really the entire season outside of maybe the Texas series and the Mississippi State series and maybe the second day of Alabama when you played the doubleheader. I think those were the only 3 times throughout the entire season that you really saw your team completely play to the level of, the pitching was good. Blaine Brown played well. Your lineup was good. Marin and Abernathy hit good at the bottom of the order. Like, those were the only times, and that really felt like that was the case. And this week, it felt like once you got to, the 7th, 8th batter in the order, it was going to be outs. It felt like your bullpen was all over the place, couldn't throw strikes. And it's just disappointing. I don't think anyone really expected to win this regional. I didn't think we would go into Chapel Hill and beat them. UNC is a very good team, went to the championship game of the ACC tournament, has a really good pitching staff, and is a team that's has as good a chance to make it to Omaha as anybody. But to go 0-2 is disappointing. I thought this team would play UNC in some type of championship series. You'd maybe make it to Game 7 on Monday, but at least be playing them yesterday. And to go out before 4 p.m. on a Saturday, it's a pretty sad showing. But how you've played most of the season, honestly, it was kind of a fitting end to. I don't want to say I'm glad that the season's over, but there were times during that season, as much as I like watching Tennessee baseball, it was pretty difficult to watch that team play.
We look at the YouTube chat. Folks are a little upset themselves. Tony Mosier says, Elander has no fire. His team was the same way. We have no dogs on the team, and Elander is as boring as watching paint dry. We don't know how to play situational baseball. They swing for the fence all the time. Sometimes you just have to put the ball in play. Some fiery passion from the comment section. Jonesy chimes in and says, at moments they had an identity, but it never really came along consistently. And consistency has been one of the main things that Tennessee baseball has lacked throughout the season. One of the big things we harped on all year was really good week, down week. Really good week, down week. And I guess it's fitting that you end the season with 2 really good weeks, and then you follow it up with 2 unimpressive, disappointing weeks. And that's just kind of how this year has gone for Tennessee, one of the most talented teams in the country. 0-2 in the Chapel Hill Regional. Brett, to you, how disappointing was the result for Tennessee in North Carolina?
It was more frustrating. Just obviously, it's disappointing because you lost. It's more frustrating the way you lost, because you would have said Blanco's going to go 7 innings of 1 hit, 1 or 4 hits, or whatever he did. 1 run in 7 innings. This was setting up about as perfect as it could. It's just the way the offensive approach of these 2 games was. Because the pitching, I didn't think, outside of a couple of appearances, but you should have put the ECU game away. I felt like there were so many opportunities to win the game. and different things like that, as we spoke about. And then I didn't really get to see VCU, so I'm not really going to speak on that. But you see 13 strikeouts, and your best hitter has 4 of them. So you're not going to win that way. But overall, like, it just felt like the pitching kind of stepped up, and your hitting, which had been so good coming into this, was the more shocking part. Obviously these teams got good pitching, but the hitting was the frustrating part, I think, for the majority of the season. And things like that. The disappointing you got from Blaine Brown and all that. But yeah, I think it was just as much disappointing as it was frustrating, the way it ended this weekend.
Same question to you, Caleb. How disappointing was the showing overall for this group?
Disappointing, yes. Expected, yes, as well. I mean, you kind of like, if you told me that was going to happen, I wouldn't have batted an eye. I would have been like, yeah, like that's Tennessee baseball for you. But I mean, like Garrett said, you're not happy the season's over, but you're at some little part of you is like, okay, now I can finally stop stressing over this. And and what they were saying in the chat with lacking identity. I know we're going to talk on Elander a little bit later, but it under Tony, it never really felt like this team lacked an identity. It never, like, you didn't, like, obviously you had your ups and your downs and all, but it never felt like it was as extreme as it is right now. And I don't want to get into talking Elander stuff right now, because I know we will later. But that's just something I wanted to point out. And when you play as good as you do for the 2 weeks leading up to this, and you go in the SEC tournament and you drop a game to an Arkansas team you probably should have beat, and then you drop a game to an ECU and a VCU, both teams that you probably should have beat, and then you look around the rest of the country and you see teams like Cal Poly and Little Rock going into super regionals, it just kind of makes you frustrated a little bit. But I mean, it's just kind of been the story of the season, and you can't really be too surprised about it. So I think this would have been a great year to do it, because UCLA's out, and if Georgia Tech loses today, I think Georgia Tech is the best team in the country. So if they lose to Oklahoma, this thing's wide open. UCLA has the best record, but I think Georgia Tech's a better team, and they're going to play Oklahoma today. We're going to see how that goes. But overall, disappointing, but it's kind of to be expected with this team this year.
Well, Tennessee failed to win 40 games for the first time in a full season since 2018, and the Vols failed to make the Super Regionals for the first time since 2019. They went 0-2 in a regional for the first time in program history after falling to ECU 7-3 in 14 innings on Friday, and VCU 5-4 on Saturday. And now that the season is officially over, Garrett, how do you view this season overall for Tennessee baseball in its first year under Josh Elander?
I think there were some ups and there were some downs. I've said it before. I like Elander. I still think he's the coach of the future. I do think this team has to find an identity more next season and play with a little bit more fire and passion that you saw with Vitello. But you do have to remember what this team did the second half of the season. I mean, you played really good the last month of the season. If you didn't, you wouldn't have even made a regional. And, in 6 months from now, you're not going to remember how you lost this regional. You're a good enough team where it doesn't really matter if you go 0-2 in a regional or if you send the regional to a Monday game. You didn't get through it. You didn't make it the super regional. That's all that matters. You got to find a way for some of these guys to develop this next year. I thought the sophomore class this year didn't take the step forward that I expected them to. I thought Abernathy was underperforming this year. I thought Marin underperformed a lot down the stretch. Levi Clark obviously had big hitting problems the first couple months of the season. Now, he was the best hitter arguably on the roster outside of Grinlinger down the stretch, but still, I just felt like a class of sophomores that you had really high hopes for this year did underperform a little bit. I think your pitching staff definitely lacked an identity out of the bullpen. You didn't really have a guy all season that you felt like could come in and shut out a team out of the pen. So a lot of things that you got to fix. But at the end of the day, this was a hire that was made in October. It was a hire that players wanted, coaches wanted. And I understand fans are mad, and we'll talk about it more, but this is the hire that everybody wanted in October. It's the hire that, in my opinion, is still right for Tennessee baseball. And with everything that went on, I think making a regional, I'm not going to say is a success, because making a regional, you should go further than that with the way that this program's been for the past 5-6 years. But, at the end of the day, he made a regional in his first season without his team playing their best baseball, and throughout most of the year probably played, CC minus baseball and still made it this far. So I think there's some good. There's obviously a lot of bad, but I don't think there's a reason to be overly negative about this season as rough as it did finish.
Brett, to you, just real quick, your thoughts, your overall takeaways on Josh Elander's first year at the helm.
Yeah, I'm exactly how Garrett felt. I was one advocating for Elander. It's a tough job to come in and replace a legend as well. I mean, we see it in other sports, with Saban, DeBoer type thing. Obviously, different levels to it, but it's tough. And he had a different responsibility, so it was going to take a learning curve for him. It's going to take a learning curve for the players and things like that. I think he knows there's going to have to be changes made and things like that. So he'll adjust. I still think he's going to do a great job here. And I think Tennessee is in the right spot. I think there's no shame in going out of a regional. You didn't have it this season. And, I think this offseason is an important one going into year 2. And I think he's going to hit the ground running. He's got good recruiting class coming in. They'll hit the portal. Guys are going to leave, and he'll get the right guys in here, and I expect a full bounce back from Tennessee baseball, no doubt about it.
Well, when we come back on the other side, we'll discuss what the future looks like for Josh Elander and this Tennessee baseball team as the offseason is officially underway. As of 6 minutes ago, a second member of the Tennessee team has entered the transfer portal. We'll tell you who that is. Also, a big trade in the NFL. I know that's not really on topic, but that's pretty crazy. Myles Garrett going to the Rams for Jared Verse. But when we come back, we'll continue to discuss Tennessee baseball, what the future looks like for them. So stay right here. It's the Playbook on Fan Run Radio.
For the fans, by the fans, this is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
What kind of day is it? It's a White Claw day. Grab a pack, grab your friends. Everything else in life can wait. Your friends shouldn't. Let's go. White Claw. Grab life by the claw. Please drink responsibly. Hard seltzer with flavors. White Claw Seltzer Works, Chicago, Illinois.
Ball fans, reimagine your home at Broadway Carpets and Flooring for any remodeling or building needs. With a variety of carpets, rugs, hardwood, vinyl, and stone, Broadway has all the flooring and installation options you're looking for, including pet-resistant products like Pet Perfect Carpet from Shaw Floors. Visit their showroom in downtown Knoxville or the location in West Knoxville located on Kingston Pike near Pellissippi Parkway today.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game, Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Smoky Mountain Brewery is the place to be for game day. From the moment you walk in, it's wall-to-wall big screens, making Smoky Mountain Brewery the perfect place to watch the Vols or your favorite team in action. With locations in Turkey Creek, Maryville, Pigeon Forge, and Gatlinburg, you're never far away from a great time at Smoky Mountain Brewery. Try one of their world-famous microbrews like Black Bear Ale, Mountain Light, or Cherokee Ale. Juicy burgers, wings that bring the heat, and delicious handmade pizzas made with hand-tossed crust from the freshest ingredients and their own special sauce from a secret recipe, topped off with hand-grated cheese and farm-fresh toppings. And don't forget, those famous microbrews are also available in kegs for your next party or in 6-packs and growlers to go. So grab your crew and head to Smoky Mountain Brewery and tell them Fan Run Radio sent you. Smoky Mountain Brewery. Eat local, eat good.
The voluntary reaction.
Can't get enough Tennessee basketball? Join Fan Run Radio as soon as every UT game is over for Big Orange Country's post-game radio free-for-all. The voluntary reaction. We'll be taking your calls on the Vols as soon as every game is over. So tune in and buckle up as we drink from the keg of glory all the way to the Final Four.
The voluntary reaction. Raw, unfiltered, real.
All right, back here on the Playbook. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this fine Monday from Knoxville, Tennessee, whether you're listening on the free Fan Run Radio app, 105.7 FM or 1340 AM here in K-Town on the local dial, or on the X/YouTube live stream. Every listener watching, we do appreciate your time. Appreciate those in the comment section as well. Buck chiming in saying, afternoon, guys. Buck, good to hear from you. Gave you a little shout out earlier in the show today. saying it was good to see you, and also appreciate the Surfside. Jonesy also says, I would give them a B in terms of the Tennessee baseball team and their overall grade. Staff turnover, player turnover, new coach, etc. Full offseason together will do them well. And also some mentions about that Tennessee basketball team moving up some way too early rankings. But we'll get back to Tennessee baseball here, as about 10 minutes ago, Ben McKee of Go Vols 24/7 reporting that Tennessee infielder Ariel Antigua intends to enter the transfer portal, will be the second member of the Tennessee baseball team to plan to or intend to enter the portal. Antigua, the more notable out of the two, as he was a backup shortstop over the last 2 seasons. But as Garrett and I were talking about during the break, didn't really have a path to being a full-time starter, and it probably makes sense that he winds up entering the portal. But now this is kind of where you are now. You know, after the season ends, the portal quickly approaches, and that was the case for basketball. It's the case for football. Baseball, we're about to do it all over again, so buckle up. But Tennessee's going to enter now a unique and highly important offseason, as rarely does a head coach go through his first season in the role of, trying to figure out everything for the next. Like, this is his first go-round, right? Because Tony Vitello did all of that last year. It's very rare that a coach leaves in October, so you're in unfamiliar territory. But now, after a year full of firsts for Elander on the diamond, we enter into a offseason full of firsts for Elander as a coach and recruiter, something he's always done a really good job at. That's a big reason why he got the job, because of those relationships that he formed with the team. But now there are a lot of questions. How many guys are going to enter? Currently, you've got 2 that intend to. How many guys are you going to add? Where are the strengths and weaknesses of the roster? There are a ton of things to break down. But let's begin with this. Where do you guys stand with Josh Elander? Because he goes 38-22 in his first season, the first coach in Tennessee baseball history to win more than 30 games. That was a program record. Obviously, he inherited a really good team, but he did do that. 38 wins is something to pump your chest about. 15-15 in SEC play, keeping at 500 or better is something to pump your chest about. But obviously, as we discussed in the first segment, not a good end to the year, falling in 2 games in the Chapel Hill Regional. Garrett, you were just kind of giving him some credit, saying that it's baseball. You're not, pulling the plug on him yet. But where do you stand with Elander in this team? Do you feel like he is capable of forming a roster in 2027 that can make it back to a super regional and contend for a national championship, which is now kind of the expectation for Tennessee baseball?
Yeah, I think, look, Vitello is not the coach here anymore. He's not going to come back here unless something crazy, unforeseen happens. He's not going to be the coach here ever again. It's time to move on. Elander is your coach of the future. He has inherited a great program. You've put all this money into the stadium. You've put all this money into a better facility. Players still want to come play for Tennessee. You're off a national championship 2 years ago. This is still a highly attractive place to play. This is still one of the top SEC programs. You saw this last year with Texas A&M and Michael Early. They were the number 1 team in the country preseason. Or number 2, them in Virginia were kind of number 1, 2 based on different publications, but top 2 team, and failed to make a regional last season. Had a lot of problems, obviously had injuries with Grahovic, but this season obviously had some trouble last night, but they have a chance to make a super regional if they beat USC today. So obviously Texas A&M was, outside of Georgia, probably, maybe Georgia and Alabama, you were probably the 3rd or 4th best team in the SEC this season. I guess Auburn was up there as well. But, throughout the whole year, A&M was a really good team. And I don't see why Tennessee can't do that next season. Now, there's going to have to be things you're going to have to do. You're going to have to attack the portal with a better pitching staff. You're going to have a better bullpen. You're going to have to find some more powerful bats that can go in the bottom of your order, and you're going to have to develop some of these players further. And, I'm not about firing coaches, but I think it would probably be in your best interest to let Reynolds go as your pitching coach. That was a situation where you didn't have much because Frank Anderson obviously left with Vitello to go to the Giants. Obviously, you don't have much time to pivot, so you have Reynolds, and Reynolds obviously spent time at Cincinnati, has been a Division I, in the coaching staff before, but the pitching this year, was not good. Mark Hendy came from Duke. He was not good this season. Brady Frederick came from ETSU as the SoCon pitcher of the year. He was largely not good this season. I felt like Appenzeller took a step back from the beginning to the middle of the season. Arvidsson, I thought, took a real step back from the end of last season. So I think you need to have some new eyes on your pitching staff, but I think these are things that Elander can do. And as long as he sees the things that the casual fan can see, which I'm sure he can, and he can fix those, I think it's okay. So I think you got to give a coach at least 3 years before you can start saying whether they're on the hot seat or not, especially in year one of a situation where a coach left to go to an MLB program in the middle of your fall, season. So just a tough situation. Still made a regional. I think people are really taking this too far with the Elander talks.
Brett, to you've always been one to maybe have a seat hotter than others. Is Elander a hot seat candidate for you? Where do you stand with him after year one?
Well, he didn't have any of these blowouts like I think you're referring to Kim. But
Hypo included.
Hypo's had 7 years. He needs to. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. We'll have a conversation with him in a couple months. But no, Elander. I mean, like I said, it was going to be a big adjustment for him. He's been an assistant coach for a long time. He's replacing Tony Vitello. He's just going to do stuff differently. Was it perfect this year? No. He tried to keep things as normal as possible, being the third base coach. I think he put guys in correct positions by the end of it. The guys just didn't perform. Guys we thought had high expectations for didn't perform either. Different things like that. So, this, you can put blame on him. He's the head coach. He gets paid a lot of money to do this. I think he'll make adjustments. He's got to figure out who's staying, who's going, different things like that. And I'm sure he's grinding like crazy right now. So, I have full confidence in Elander to bounce back. It's a tough conference to bounce back. He's going to have to get some players in here that can do a job. I like the assistant coach, Geralman from Florida. I think he's going to be able to hopefully help in a full off season with him. So, but I'm also with Garrett. I think the pitching coach probably needs to go. But I have all the hope for Elander. So I expect him to bounce back in a big way this next season.
Well, a big part of the transfer portal is how desirable is your destination. How many guys around the country look at Tennessee and say, that's a place I want to go play? Now, under Tony Vitello, it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't that big of a problem because everyone wanted to play for Tony V. Everyone wanted to be a part of this kind of hip and cool, modernized program. And you seem to lose a little bit of that prowess, a little bit of that fire, right? And that's been something that Elander has constantly been reminded about from fans. You saw a little bit of fire against VCU, but again, lacking identity has been a big thing people have hit on. How attractive now is Tennessee as a destination for these top transfers? Tony Vitello could recruit the best of them when he had his staff of, Josh Elander being one of those lead recruiters, Frank Anderson, one of the most well-respected pitching coaches. Now it's Elander's the guy. He's a great recruiter, but you're going to probably have to make some changes on that staff. And it's not like you're riding into this portal process with a ton of momentum. You had a really talented team this year, and you went 0-2 in the regional. How attractive, Garrett, is Tennessee baseball right now in terms of a portal destination for top prospects?
I think it's still attractive. It might not be as attractive as it was with Vitello. I think when Vitello was here, it was probably destination 1A, 1B for most people. I mean, you were coming off a national championship. The ballpark had just been renovated. You had high expectations, obviously unforeseen events, and Vitello is not here this season. You have a new coaching staff. But at the end of the day, Elander was here, through SEMO and Burke and Jordan Beck. I mean, Joyce. And there's been so many players that have been a part of these 2020s Tennessee teams that Elander has been the coach of. Was he the hitting coach opposed to the head coach? Yes, but he was still, a massive part of the development of those players. And so I think with a newly renovated ballpark, a nice facility, you play, in the SEC, I think it's still a highly attractable place. And if, Elander can have a good season next year and make a super or take you back to Omaha, it just becomes even more fitting for players. But I think a lot of these players, they obviously stuck with Elander. They liked him. When Elander was hired, you saw all the previous players, whether that was Jordan Beck, Hunter Ensley, Christian Moore, they all endorsed Elander to be the next hired coach. And if you wanted Kevin Schnall to be your head coach opposed to Elander, you probably could have done it. And you ended up going with Elander. Schnall obviously removed his name from the candidacy list. But I think this is a guy that players like playing for. And people say, well, he doesn't show emotion and all this stuff. Players know that. Players know what Elander's emotions were for the past 5-6 years. This is nothing new. Obviously, he doesn't have the same emotions as Tony Vitello does, but, you don't have to be an emotional hothead to win baseball games. That helped you in the Vitello era, but, you look at other teams over the past couple seasons that have won national championships, and, some of them have more mellow coaches than others. I don't think that is something that is mandatory for your team to be good, is that you have a chippy team and things of that nature. I think it helps you, but I don't think it's mandatory for your team to have that.
Caleb, to you, how attractive is Tennessee? If you're a top transfer portal prospect, do you have the same vibe with Tennessee baseball as you did under Vitello, now under Elander?
Obviously you don't have the exact same vibe. I still think this is one of the best destinations you can go to in college baseball, just given the amount of money we've dumped into it. I think losing a guy like Tony V, a player's coach, if you look up player's coach on the internet, a picture of Tony Vitello is probably going to pop up. Sure. He's one of the most fiery coaches. Sometimes you thought he was a player on the team the way he acted. But, obviously when you go to 3 College World Series in 4 years, and then the 1 year you don't go, you probably had the best team in the country, maybe one of the better teams all time. You're going to take a step back, and it's not going to be the exact same. This is like if we hired a new football coach in May before the season started. So, you gotta cut the dude some slack. I think he did good for the situation that he had. I think some guys underperformed, but everybody on the team's not always going to perform up to the level that they're expected to perform every year. So I think for what he had and everything going on throughout the season, I think the fact that we were better at the end of the season than we were at the start of the season is the best sign. I think trending in the right direction is better than anything. So I'm not hitting the panic button yet. I think we're still in a really, really good spot. I think players still want to come here. I think losing Frank Anderson might have been a bigger shot than losing Tony at this point, looking at the pitching so far. But I still think having Elander here, having some of the assistants that we still got, having the money and the resources that we have, I still think this is a top 5 destination.
Now, the Vols have done a really good job in the transfer portal in years past, cleaning up some of the top prospects. But again, a new regime and a new approach for Josh Elander and company. Brett, to you, do you believe that Tennessee will continue to get some of these top guys as they have in years past, despite the coaching change?
I do. I also think we've got some big ones we have to try and stick around. I think there's guys you can build around with the Grinlingers and Appenzellers and players like that. We almost have our own questions asked before we get into the portal, and things like that. I think you probably have a good idea who is going and stuff. But yeah, I think we're still a destination. I still think you play in the SEC. Tennessee's getting more players drafted now, whether you want to say it's Vitello, but I think, like you said, Elander's got as big a reason for the success of these players that are in the pros right now. And you've seen that, like Garrett said, from the guys backing him to be the head coach here. So, I think without a doubt, these players, I think the recruits will stick around, and I have no doubt he's going to get in the portal and crush it. I think that's huge. Ross Kivett's big in the portal, so I think it's all there for us to make some noise in the portal. And I think Elander's probably as disappointed as anybody and as frustrated as anybody with how the season went. He's been a part of a lot of success here, and I think it's much more enjoyable. And I think he wants to continue putting butts in the seats and things like that. I fully anticipate us having a very good portal, and it's just about getting the guys to perform, because I think there was potential there for this team. It was just disappointing, and I do though think we'll hit the portal pretty good.
Garrett, real quick to you, do you echo those same sentiments? Do you believe that Tennessee will have success in the transfer portal process? Your portal expectations for this group?
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to continue to develop the talent you have, though. You have to develop Grinlinger further, because he can be a star. You have to develop Abernathy farther. Appenzeller, he can be a star. Like, you have players on your roster right now that if you develop them a little bit more, they could be, maybe not as Christian Moore or Blake Burke, but Christian Moore and Blake Burke and Jordan Beck, they had sophomore slumps too and ended up being, high-level MLB draft picks. And, as for the portal, you might not land the Henry Fords that you did this season, but at the same time, you don't necessarily have to do that in baseball. Garrett Wright was probably your most consistent player in the postseason, and he played baseball at Bowling Green last season. Yeah. So it's also about finding the diamonds in the rough of who you can get.
Well, we'll take a look at the YouTube chat real quick. Buck said, I said this would be a so-so year, no big expectations. Elander has a team and his own culture to build. I think we saw flashes of that by the end of the season. That was the toughest regional. Jonesy says, if you have money, you're attractive. I feel like that's almost anything in life. That's kind of like a dating reference. If you got money, you're attractive, right? Buck says it's a now or never for Elander. I think you lost some of the fringe fans, and with baseball, that's not a good thing, but he should be fine. And then Jonesy also adds in, I miss the days of Tony's charisma in recruiting, though. And I will attribute to that as well. I think we had Tony on last summer, and we were talking about the transfer portal process. He had already landed a couple of top guys, but he was in Atlanta talking to another number of high school recruits, right? I mean, it's a 365 job as a head coach. You got to be recruiting everywhere. But Tony did have some of that charisma in the recruiting process. You see that charisma on the field and on the diamond, and it carried its way into the recruiting process as well. So I think Tennessee will miss that. Up against a quick break real quick. But when we come back, we'll check in on the Lady Vols. Also, Caleb wants to hit on something. So stay right here. It's the Playbook on Fan Run Radio.
Catch up with all things Fan Run by subscribing to our podcast feed. Like, rate, and download the show from the Fan Run app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Wilco at Knoxville Smiles. Have you ever wanted to improve the look of your smile? We know firsthand what the power of a great smile means to a person's confidence and health. Our team of doctors can provide you with an array of options for helping you achieve your cosmetic goals. From simply moving teeth into a better position, to reversible cosmetic bonding, to full mouth implant-supported dentures. It is our goal to help patients feel good about their appearance while achieving optimal health. Want to learn more? Call us at 865-539-1776 to schedule an evaluation, or visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com.
Hi, this is Bo Kregner from the Kregner Group of Realty Executives, and I know there's a lot of choices here in East Tennessee when it comes to choosing a realtor. Here's why the Kregner Group is different. At the Kregner Group, our motto is walking by faith, serving others. It's how I live my life. It's how I run my business. Here at the Kregner Group, we're committed to doing real estate the right way. Faith, honesty, integrity. The Kregner Group. Call me anytime at 865-742-1035 or visit my website at bonoshouses.com.
Welcome to Axle Logistics, where excellence isn't just a goal, it's an energy. As a leading third-party logistics company, Axle is powered by an award-winning culture built on a work hard, play hard mentality. Here, the drive for success is contagious and hard work never goes unnoticed. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up, Axle Logistics is the place to launch your career. Join us and take your ambition to the stars. To learn more, visit axlelogistics.com.
All right, back here on the Playbook. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Continuing real quick, the topic of Tennessee and the transfer portal for baseball. Another name to add, Chris Newstrom entering the transfer portal as well. Now 3 volunteers anticipating to leave the program this offseason. But Caleb, you said you had something to add.
Yeah, on the topic of Tony and his recruiting. So I used to work in the old city at a restaurant. And that was kind of Tony's like go-to restaurant as far as recruits. During the offseason, he probably had a different group in there once a week. And I had the chance to take care of him a few times. If they were down for 2 hours, he was probably at the table for maybe 10 minutes. He was on the phone, different recruit. He'd talk to 4 or 5 different guys on the phone while he was at dinner with a recruit, and just kind of getting to see behind the scenes the way that guy recruited. It was absolutely insane. I mean, the way he was able to connect and communicate with those kids, and the different and the volume of guys that he talked to in a week. I mean, I had the chance to talk. He said he probably talked to 15, 20 different kids a week as far as the offseason went. So it was insane to see the kind of the behind the scenes of how all that worked.
Yeah, most certainly. I don't envy that for, we are critical of coaches and critical of who they recruit and how they recruit, but man, I don't think that's anything that we envy. I wouldn't have to I wouldn't want to have to form all those relationships in a 2-week period with a bunch of guys I've never met before and try to coerce them into committing. It's a big commitment. A lot going on there. But good stuff. Real quick, let's check in on the Lady Vols, who are currently playing in Oklahoma City in the Women's College World Series. They're just one game away from a national title berth, but it might have to take an extra game. Tennessee right now down 4-1 in the top of the 6 against Texas. The Longhorns used a strong 3-run 5th inning to cushion their lead to 3. But the Lady Vols will have one more crack at it at the plate. If Tennessee were to lose this one, that means they'll follow up another game with Texas shortly after this one is over, and that will be a winner-go-home matchup to play in the national title. A strong start, a little bit of drama on Saturday with Texas Tech. Well, drama with the walk-off, but also drama in the post-game presser. Texas Tech's been kind of one to get under the skin of a couple of these teams. I know when they played Florida in the Super Regionals.
Jason Williams.
I know.
Daughter.
I know. Jason Williams, a former Florida player, has said he's no longer a Gator anymore, basically.
Crazy.
I guess when you get to that point in the softball season, you kind of forget that every second of everything you do is on camera when you're in the College World Series. That girl at Texas Tech, I think, kind of didn't realize that when she made that comment about the coach.
Yeah.
Braden Krenzel in the portal now.
Braden Krenzel, too. Man, they're coming in.
He just dropped into the portal. That was a very disappointing season from him.
That was the biggest regression of anybody.
That was crazy, watching him go from where he was. Was he a freshman?
He was a sophomore this year.
He was a freshman, like his good season. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy what happened to him.
So the portal's not open, correct? These are guys
open today.
It opened today? Okay.
Yeah,
close of the month.
Yeah, closes June 30th.
So this is another kind of thing that kind of bothers me with this is it's every sport, football, basketball, baseball, that the portal opens before the season is entirely over. Do we think that affects some of these teams at all? Like for example, a team like Tennessee, who historically, national title 2 years ago, we're in it every year, that we get such a head start on some of these other teams as far as portal and recruiting goes, because even though these guys don't commit and these other teams have chances to swoop in and stuff, we have an extra month and a half to build a connection and relationship with these guys. Do we think that affects anything at all?
Yeah, I think it gives you a leg up, whether it's a good leg up or not. The fact that you got ousted this past weekend, but I guess it makes things a little bit easier for the coaching staff to really hone in on the talent they want to bring in. And right now is kind of the process of these exit meetings starting on Sunday and now as well as today, just kind of going through, hey, are you here? You're not. And now you've got 4 guys in the transfer portal with Krenzel being added to that as well. So going to be a busy day for the graphics. Most certainly. So thankfully we got Josh in the other room sending me the graphics so I can put it out. But when we come back in hour 2, we're going to flip our focus to the gridiron. Chaz Coleman, talk of the town here in Knoxville. He's back in K-Town, but what does that future look like? Well, Chris Lowe of On3 and on the Rocky Top Insider podcast, The Lowdown, he and Bob Baskerville do that on Sundays. He gave a little bit of intel on what that future looks like for Coleman. We'll discuss that when we return in hour 2 and also discuss the NBA playoffs. The finals are set. The Knicks and the Spurs. We'll break that one down. Stay right here. Hour 2 on the way. It's Fan Run Radio.
Follow us on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it these days at Fox Sports Knox. Fox Sports Knoxville. Fan Run Radio.
Blackford Veterinary Surgery Referral specializes in surgeries not regularly performed by your pet's general veterinarian. They're currently accepting referrals from vets all across the country. With their newly renovated state-of-the-art surgery center and highly trained staff, clients can rely on professional and thorough care. If your vet says that your pet needs surgery or rehab, ask for a referral to Blackford Vet and let them get your best friend back on its feet. Located conveniently in West Knoxville. For more information, visit blackfordvetsurgery.com.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Running a business, coaching a team, planning your next big event, you need more than just gear. You need SM Athletics and Logo Solutions. Custom uniforms, branded apparel, promotional products, done right, done fast, and built to show off your brand with pride. From local businesses to high schools to major universities, SM Athletics is trusted by winners. Get real service, get real quality, get noticed. SM Athletics and Logo Solutions, where your brand comes to life.
Visit smathletics.com and let's build something great together.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville, Fan Run Radio.
Smoky Mountain Brewery is the place to be for game day. From the moment you walk in, it's wall-to-wall big screens, making Smoky Mountain Brewery the perfect place to watch the Vols or your favorite team in action. With locations in Turkey Creek, Maryville, Pigeon Forge, and Gatlinburg, you're never far away from a great time at Smoky Mountain Brewery. Try one of their world-famous microbrews like Black Bear Ale, Mountain Light, or Cherokee Ale. Juicy burgers, wings that bring the heat, and delicious handmade pizzas made with hand-tossed crust from the freshest ingredients and their own special sauce from a secret recipe, topped off with hand-grated cheese and farm-fresh toppings. And don't forget, those famous microbrews are also available in kegs for your next party or in 6-packs and growlers to go. So grab your crew and head to Smoky Mountain Brewery and tell them Fan Run Radio sent you. Smoky Mountain Brewery. Eat local, eat good.
Hey Vols fans, Cody Brown here. I grew up right here in Tennessee and know what it means when someone says, I've got your back. That's why you can trust Farm Bureau Insurance of Tennessee. Whether it's your home, your vehicle, your family's future, or the business you built from the ground up, we will show up for all of your insurance needs. We are Tennesseans who understand what matters, which is doing right by you. Insurance is not all about just paperwork and policies, but it's about the people we insure every day. So if you want insurance that hits home, give me a call at 865-992-3871. Go Vols.
Barley's has live music on weekends, general team trivia on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and now live sports trivia courtesy of the Knoxville Trivia Guys every Thursday night upstairs. The game starts at 7 p.m. and is free to play for everyone, so head on down to the Old City and show off your sports knowledge and win gift cards to Barley's. Use those gift cards to buy some delicious food and drinks, and you can
Here we go. Hour 2 on a Monday, live from the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. It's the Playbook on Fan Run Radio. Brett Elander, Garrett Armbrust, and Caleb DeBusk joining you. I'm William Pattison. Great stuff in hour number 1. We'll continue it here in hour number 2 as we pivot over to the gridiron to talk Chaz Coleman, the saga that is dominating headlines across college football and in Knoxville. And we'll also talk the NBA Finals, the Spurs and Knicks set for this year's Finals matchup. We'll break down that one. Also, Game 7 between OKC and San Antonio from Saturday. We'll wrap it up with our final thoughts. But before we do that, more portal news for Tennessee baseball. Chris Newstrom, as we mentioned at the end of hour 1, add Braden Krenzel to the list as well. He's entering the portal after 2 seasons with Tennessee baseball. Experienced a pretty down year, just 2-3 overall record, a 9.35 ERA for the righty, and 17 1/3 innings pitched. No big surprises yet. Am I fair in saying that?
No, but we had a fifth guy, Finley Bates, but he didn't play much. But he was another guy that just hit the portal as well.
Good Lord.
Yes.
Let's slow down.
Beans today.
Yeah. Out of the group that's transferred so far, before we get to Chaz Coleman, and it allows me time to put this out, out of the group that has already entered the portal, who's probably the biggest one you'd say right now?
I think Newstrom, I guess, obviously something happened with him in the middle of the season. I'm not sure what went on there. Wasn't with the team for a little bit. You saw him come in, on Friday as a pinch runner, I think, in the ECU game. And he came
Another one didn't score.
Yeah, came in off the bench and did something. Another, I don't know. Maybe he was a guy last year that had,
just like Krenzel.
He had potential, but I don't know. He had something off the field, obviously, that happened this year. That would probably be the biggest one. But, honestly, none of these guys are that big of a deal. Antigua's obviously the most known just because of how long he's been with the team and stuff. But I think this is similar to the basketball team. It's like, respectfully, you don't really add that much value to our team. You're kind of taking up a roster spot. If we want to be more competitive than we were this year, we're going to have to go out and get better players. And obviously, your budget in baseball is a little bit different than basketball. This isn't going to be a $20 million roster where players are asking for $2 million and you're telling them no, and you have someone entering the portal. But I do think this is a situation where you're telling Krenzel, sorry, man, but your ERA was 9 this season. We can easily go find another bullpen arm. Or Chris Newstrom, sorry, dude, but you batted sub 200 this year. We can easily go find a mid-major player that can replace that production. So I think you can replace the production of all of these guys. Finley Bates obviously was a guy from San Diego State that you thought was going to be a big help this season and really never played. So both him and Hindi were two guys that you got kind of laid out of the portal that hardly ever played this season. So I think it's just this is Elander. This is what you want to see. You want to see Elander make these moves early and say, yo, you were not the player for us this year, unfortunately. I hope it works out for you at another program, but we're going to bring in talent that helps our roster become better for next season and more competitive.
Brett, to you, anyone that sticks out right now? Caleb, you as well?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, really just, like you said, notables Antigua, but Antigua never really got his bat going. You kind of liked his glove, but when you bat sub 200 for most of the time that you're at the plate, you're not really going to hold a roster spot down here. I feel like it kind of feels like these meetings are going on as we speak, and these guys are just going bang, bang, bang as we're sitting here talking. Yeah. So I imagine we're probably going to hear a couple more names as the day goes on, but nobody really that you, like he said, it's a perfect parallel with the basketball portal. Like you got guys that played good, that you had high expectations for, that you kind of didn't perform to the level that you wanted them to, and you're not really, you don't want to see him go, but you don't really mind. You don't mind to see him go because you can probably go out there and get similar to better numbers from other guys that you don't have to pay as much money to. So I say. Loved having you on the team. Loved having you here, but let's go get some guys that can win us, get us to a super, get us to Omaha.
Brett, anyone for you?
I don't really have much to add. It is what it is, day and age we're in, and I was surprised Antigua was able to stick around this long. It seemed like every offseason it was a conversation, will he or won't he? And I guess he was probably told different things. He'd always come in after a good, kind of like Coons. Coons had the Cape Cod leagues. I think Antigua was playing some Appalachian League, which isn't great, but he'd find ways to hit over there for some reason to get here. And obviously it's a different animal when you get here, undersized and different things like that, but seemed to be a little bit of a team leader. So you're losing maybe that side of things, but Krenzel's the most shocking one. He was borderline at times. You were thinking maybe he would be in the rotation, because he was that good last year as a freshman. So it was disappointing the way it turned out for him. But none of these guys are really game changers, and you kind of move on and see if you can't improve this roster.
Well, let's switch over to a guy that Tennessee football got in the transfer portal that has also dominated headlines, and that is Chaz Coleman, one of the biggest sagas in college football right now. You got Brendan Sorsby, and you got Chaz Coleman. Now, those are two different things they're dealing with, obviously, but for Tennessee football fans, there's a lot of uncertainty revolving around Mr. Coleman. And as Tennessee football returns to campus for summer workouts, all eyes are going to be on the Penn State product. Coleman reportedly arrived in Knoxville on Friday, per Pete Nakos, but he was not in attendance for the voluntary workouts. And what Coleman's arrival means to me is, well, at least he's here. There's not a whole lot else other than that. Until he is fully back and fully committed and is suiting up and participating in these practices, him being back in Knoxville really doesn't move the needle too much to me. At the end of the day, he's got his stuff here. He was going to have to return at some point. So, I guess it's a good sign in some case that he's back. But, he's supposed to be here. So we shouldn't be celebrating the fact that he's back when he was supposed to be back earlier in the week. But I guess it's a start. We'll consider it a start, if anything. And we'll see where this week goes, and we'll see where the future holds. We'll have a couple of tidbits from Chris Lowe of On3 and Rocky Top Insider's Lowdown podcast here in a moment. But at least, Garrett, to you, what does Coleman's arrival back in Knoxville mean currently for this Tennessee team?
I'm kind of with you. Until he puts on the shoulder pads and you actually see him practicing, I don't think it really means a whole lot. Just because you're in the city doesn't mean a whole lot. Obviously, with everything that's gone on over the past couple weeks, I think a lot of this fan base is kind of ready to just pull the plug on this dude and tell him goodbye. It seems like it's a big distraction in the locker room. Obviously, I haven't been here the past couple weeks to talk about it, as most of the stuff's been popping off about him. But so I guess that's kind of where I'm saying how I feel about it, because I haven't said anything about it on the air. But no, this is a guy, obviously, you paid a lot of money from Penn State that hasn't played a whole lot in his career, that you're paying him off what his potential is from his body and his athletic frame and what you think he can do from what you've seen on tape. And this is a guy that was paid a lot of money and has not showed up to practice. And I don't know, what he's dealing with. Obviously, they said that he was homesick a while ago and he's had these mental problems. Obviously, you don't ever want to diminish an athlete's mental stuff. But in my opinion, if you're posting you flaunting money on your Instagram story, you're at least doing okay enough to be able to practice. So this is just kind of the unfortunate situation of NIL and transfer portal. You can pay a guy and then they can decide that maybe they don't want to play for you. So I think it's just a rough situation, but I don't think it's that big of a deal that he's here.
Brett, does Coleman being back in Knoxville move the needle for you in any way in regards to your thoughts on this situation?
I don't know, but have you seen these Austin Price quotes from today?
About what?
He was on McElroy and Kubalik regarding Chaz Coleman. Did you see these quotes? They're pretty telling.
I did not see.
Well, basically, he said he's still around. He's still part of the program. He arrived back in town Friday. They started summer workouts last Monday. Did not show back up until Friday. I think it's probably heading in a certain direction, just not there yet. Chaz Coleman's got to want to put forth the effort, and to this point, he's just not shown it. It's probably heading towards a separation, a permanent separation, sooner rather than later. But it's not to that point yet, just because with certain things, it's not as simple as just you're off the team, because some of the other stuff, it's just not as simple as that. He went on to say the team hasn't viewed him as a teammate in a long time, so the only way the chemistry gets thrown for a loop here is if he shows back up. It does not affect them unless he's back amongst them on a daily basis.
Well, I'll try to phrase this in a way that, not that they're going to pick up and hear this, but this is the same guy that said he'd been shocked if he wasn't there last week, So my thing with Coleman is this. I believe it's headed to a departure. I believe there's going to be a separation, because if I'm Josh Heupel, I can't have this go on for another offseason. You just dealt with this specifically with Boo Carter last year, who had a little bit of an issue in the summer. You had to have him on a plan to get back in good standing, and he ended up leaving before the season even ended. And really his production after maybe the second week of October on was really nothing. You go back to that Oklahoma game, it was almost like Boo Carter was refusing to return punts. You can't have that type of crap go down. So I believe it's been trending in the Coleman separation direction for a minute.
He's had enough time to figure out whatever's going on. And things like that.
And here's the thing. As we mentioned last week, I understand that mental health is very serious, and I'm not trying to diminish that. I understand that kids get homesick and all of that. And with Coleman, it's almost like there are 3 or 4 different variables here. And maybe it's just a really bad storm for him, and it just isn't going to work out. That's fine. But my thing is this: if you commit to something, you have to go through with that. Now, thankfully, as we'll discuss here in a moment, Tennessee hasn't given him a ton of money. But if you commit to anything in life, you have to show up and be a part of it.
Got to earn it.
You know, if I sign to work here, I can't not show up for 2 months because I've got some things going on. And if that is the case, you communicate that so everyone's on the same plan. Everyone's on the same page. You're not ending up in the headlines. You know, if this were really a mental health thing and all of that, and I'm not saying it's not, but there's a way to handle that. Coach, I'm not myself right now. I still want to be a part of this team. I still want to be a part of this program, but I need to take some time for me. And then everyone's on the same understanding. We're not having this conversation. Everyone's on the same page. He's going to be a part of the team. The team members are helping him out with it. They're supportive of his decision. We'll welcome him with open arms when he is ready to return. That's the type of situation it should be. It shouldn't be, well, we can't really get back in touch with him. He's not here yet. He's supposed to be. He said he was going to be back. Now we're just playing games. And for Josh Heupel, a guy that has played games for 3 different guys now in the last 13 months, you don't have time for that crap. This is college football. These guys get paid, big time money. These programs have big time expectations. For a coach entering his 7th year of college football, you don't have, or what is it, 6th year of college football with Tennessee, you don't have time for this stuff to go down. So I believe it's headed to a divorce at some point, whether that is he's not a member of the team any longer, or maybe he will rejoin the team as we get closer to summer practice and the lead up to the season beginning, whatever it may be. I think there's going to be some sort of divorce, some sort of separation, and I think that's best for Tennessee moving forward because you don't want this to be your off-season drama. The quarterback situation is a great topic to talk about. It's an issue that's going to need to be solved, but at least that's a positive discussion. Which guy would you rather have? Which guy is going to take the job? Which member of the defense is going to step up this year? Is Jim Knowles' defense going to be better than it was in year 1 at Penn State as opposed to year 1 at Tennessee? Those are the type of conversations you want to have. Not is the 5-star transfer portal edge going to show up or not. That's not the type of stuff that a program like Tennessee should be dealing with. At Georgia, try doing this with Kirby Smart. See how long this thing lasts. See ya. See ya. We'll go add the 6'7" guy we just recruited from high school instead. We'll move on. We're not going to deal with this drama. And again, I know there are mental health issues and all of that. I'm not diminishing it. But at the end of the day, you sign up to be somewhere. You sign up to do something. You've got to be there. You've got to do it. And there are ways to handle those situations differently than he is now. Coach, I'm not myself right now. Can you give me a month? Can you wait? I'm still wanting to be a part of the team. I still want to be here. There are ways to correctly inform and correctly tell the full story. Unfortunately, that's not the case here. And Tennessee made a big push for the kid out of the transfer portal, spent a season at Penn State, and he missed the back end of spring practices. He didn't show up for summer workouts until a few days have passed, and rumors and everything is swirling around the Tennessee program of what his status looks like. And as Austin Price might discuss, a divorce incoming, I believe that's where it is headed as well from the people I talked to. But Chris Lowe, who's on On3 and also the Rocky Top Insider Lowdown podcast, he revealed what he's heard recently on Sunday edition of the RTI Lowdown yesterday, saying, quote, I still think it's very, very questionable whether he plays for Tennessee or not this fall. Quote, I know he's in town. I'm not sure what his plans are for tomorrow, referring to today. They have workouts again. Will he be there? I know they've met and they've talked. And he goes on to talk a little bit more. We'll discuss that here in a moment. But just specifically on, what Chris Lowe is saying, is he going to be ready for the season, I think is a fair question to raise. Because if you haven't been participating in workouts, you haven't been doing football drills, what's your readiness going to look like come September 5th when Tennessee's running out of the tee going to play Furman? I mean, I don't think a guy that has been on and off all offseason is going to be in tip-top shape. And Garrett, to you, do you believe Coleman will play this year? Now, take out the dynamics of I believe there's a divorce incoming. There are a lot of people that believe that is coming too. But let's say you get through all of this. Do you believe that he's going to be ready to play this year, even if he were to stay?
Probably not, because he was as highly coveted as he was. The reason why you picked him up was because of what you could develop him into. It wasn't that he had 8 sacks last season and was an all Big Ten, defensive edge. It was a guy that had 10 tackles last season, and 5 of them were against FIU, and you saw his athletic, ability pop off the screen, and you thought that if you got him in the building, you could turn him into a monster coming off the edge. This isn't a guy that is an established player that can take time off and then go out week 1 and be a dominant guy coming off the edge. This is a guy that needed to get better this offseason. This is a guy that needed to get his game more informed before this season. This is a guy that at the end of the day you were taking a little bit of a chance on, because he didn't have the complete film of going out there against Ohio States and Oregons and teams like that in the Big Ten and wrecking havoc. This was a guy that was a bit of a project. So I think, I don't think he would be able to go out there week 1. I would feel much more confident in Jordan Norman as a starting edge coming off a guy that had 6.5, 7 sacks over when he was at Tulane last season. At least he played football and put up big numbers last season. Yes, it was at a Group of 5 school, but I would feel much more confident than a guy that's been a work in progress that hasn't even shown up to camp.
Yeah. And you mentioned Jordan Norman. I think that's a guy that's going to step up in this spot. But again, it's not like Coleman was a Damon Wilson II in the transfer portal, one of the most highly regarded guys that have established themselves already. This is more just based off potential. But going back to what Chris Lowe was discussing, quote, but as little as he's done, and this was in his conversation with Bob Baskerville, also on the drive from 3 to 6 here on Fan Run Radio. But as little as he's done, Bob, both in spring practice and off-season workouts, let's say he did play, let's say this thing works out, and for the kids' sake, I hope it does, how ready will he be come preseason camp in August? When you kick it off there in early September, he hasn't done anything. And I mean, that's a big factor in all of this as well. Even if you don't get a divorce, even if everyone is able to come together and fix things, in the SEC, you've got to be ready to go. In the SEC, you've got to be in shape. And week 2, you hit the road and take on Georgia Tech, a team that has, a lot of momentum for that game, period. They're going to open the year with Colorado. They get a win there. They could go in 1-0 and host a big-time opponent in their own building. You've got to be able to get to the quarterback. Alberto Mendoza, likely the starter for the Yellow Jackets. That's a guy that doesn't have a ton of experience, but you need valuable edge rushers to get in the backfield and make plays.
This isn't a guy you're just extremely patient with?
No.
Like he's not talented enough to where, because he's a position of need. You're lacking at DN. You're just done with him because he can't go play anywhere else. It's not a guy that we don't think he's doing anything football wise right now, like on his own, nothing. To stay in shape, be ready.
Yeah.
And then you throw he can go out and play in his shape right now against that first game though, like against whoever he said it, against Furman, yes, and get his feet wet. If you prolong this into fall camp or whatever, but you're to the point where you're done with him completely.
Well, against Georgia Tech, I mean, Furman's one thing. Against Georgia Tech, you'll get your ass knocked in the dirt.
But I'm saying if he comes on beginning of fall camp or whatever, could he? You're saying he needs all of summer, everything to be ready to
I don't
go.
think one game would be enough.
Well, no, but I'm saying if he were to miss all summer workouts, but then you're like, okay, start a fall camp, he's ready to go, he's mentally checked in. Could he not be ready by Georgia Tech?
I would hope, but again, repetition.
I want him gone. I just want to make that clear too. I don't think you want this headache either. We've dealt with it enough, and I think it's ultimately kind of affected our football teams, last couple of seasons with all these mental struggles with Boo Carter, Nico, and all that. We didn't play our best football, and Heupel wasn't fully focused, the team. So but I'm just asking the question, like a guy that's talented can always whip him into shape in a month, be ready to go first game, and then we're rolling. We got all our, ducks in a row, I guess.
I agree with the sentiment of, body wise, you could get him in for a month and be ready to go. But also my rebuttal to that is
it wouldn't be fair to the rest of the team either.
Not fair to the rest of the team. That basically you set the standard of you can come in and, F around for 2 months and still end up starting and being a bit like.
That seems a little unfair too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, as I kind of talked about last week, at some point you have to set a culture standard.
Yeah.
And I know a couple of people did not like me asking, does Tennessee have a culture problem? But you really got to go back to the last 13 months. You've had 3 guys, either 5-star players or All-American level guys in Boo Carter's case in his freshman year, SEC All-American as a freshman. I mean, you got to hold the same standard as the kid from Carnes that's walking on the team to the best guy in the transfer portal. That's the only way you have a successful team. That's the only way you have a successful culture. If you hold everyone to the same standard, you can't allow Chaz Coleman to do this and go MIA and be unresponsive and do this for 2 months and be like, yeah, come on, get back on the team. Let's roll. Yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm. Then what's stopping another guy from doing that? What's stopping David Sanders from being like, well, if he can do that, well, hey, I'll see you against Furman. I'm going out of town for 2 months. What's stopping guys from doing that? So at the end of the day, it's setting a culture. It's setting an identity of how you want to be as a program. And you've had issues multiple times in different seasons with these type of 2022, the locker room incident before South Carolina, the Nico Iamaleava situation before the spring game, Boo Carter last year. Now this. If you want to set a standard, if you want to set expectations, you can't allow this stuff to happen. So even if he were to get in full health, I also would have questions about the communication and understanding of the defense. I know he was with Jim Knowles last year, so he probably has a little bit of a leg up on that.
Yeah.
But again, being there with your teammates, working on things in practice is so valuable because you get in a game, you might have seen one of these situations before. All right, they're in 12 personnel. We worked on this in practice. We remember this back in July, right? And Derek Owings is going to be such a valuable member of this team in terms of developing these guys, getting them physically strong and mentally tough. You're missing out on those opportunities too. So on 4th down in the 4th quarter against Georgia Tech in week 2, you've got some guys on the team that have been through those processes with Owings and that are ready to go and are mentally tough. And then you got a Coleman who wasn't there for those moments. So I think it all every moment you miss is going to affect you in some way, is the way I look at it. And even if he were able to get in shape and ready to go for the season, he still missed out on valuable time. Caleb, to you, do you believe there's any chance Coleman plays for Tennessee this season? And would he even be ready in time for the year if he were to get back onto the roster right now?
I think him being back in Knoxville's step one of many. I think if this is the last you hear of it and he shows back up and he's full go from now on, I think there's a reasonable shot that he's ready to go. But then you also look at the side of the coin of I don't know how many of us in here have played sports. I know obviously sports is a big part of our life. I've played sports my whole life. When you're in a locker room like that and you got a guy who's maybe not as talented, but he's been there every single day working his butt off 110%. Maybe he's not as good as Chaz Coleman, but then Chaz Coleman rolls in kind of wandering through the building, gets in there and starts. I mean, that affects the locker room. That can tear a locker room apart. I've seen it happen personally. It's like you want the kid to play. He's amazingly talented. You paid him a lot of money. Obviously, I think we've only given him $25,000 to this point. But promise of $2 million contract, you have a guy commit. You can't deal with stuff like this. No matter how good of a player he is. Like you said, you hold him to the same standard as you hold the walk off from Powell High School to. Like it's not like you don't change the way you coach a guy just because of how good he is. That's what bad coaches do. That's not what winning coaches do. I doubt Nick Saban ever did that in his entire tenure anywhere he was at. So I don't think you change the way you approach this kid just because he's a 5-star and you're paying him $2 million. I think you even if he comes back, while they are voluntary workouts, he still missed the back half of spring practice. If he can come in here and get ready for fall camp, I think give him a path back. Don't just accept him with open arms. I think you got to hold him to a standard. I mean, it's the University of Tennessee. You don't do that crap here, and there's a lot of steps we got to do, and him being back in Knoxville is step one of maybe 100. So hopefully this is the last we hear of it and we don't have to talk about it anymore. But I think him departing is more likely than him coming back. So
This is what Chris Lowe had to say on that podcast about the financial situation for Coleman, saying, quote, "My understanding is they already paid him about $200,000, between $200,000 and $250K is what they paid him. I think there was an adjustment after the issues in the spring. The biggest chunk of his money will not come until later this year after the season, which is good for Tennessee that they're able to get that. So it's not like they've wasted $1 million on him or given him most of his money to this point." Now, as some in the comment section say, Buck goes, "Will, $250K is a lot of damn money, brother." And I agree, but I guess for Tennessee football, $250K isn't a backbreaker. But that is, that's like $250K is a low 4-star, high 3-star player out of high school type of price, So
how did we get him for these financials? I thought it was like the $2 million. I don't understand.
Well, it is. It's a $2 million deal,
numbers.
But it's probably like, hey, you got to play first.
Okay.
I'm sure they changed that with.
I'm just wondering how we can even talk to him for. Most of these guys are. You tell some of these agents are asking, you want to talk to my client, you got to give some moolah, right?
Well, I bet the $200 to $250K was the signing bonus and get on campus type of deal.
Gotcha.
So
yeah,
if I'm his agent, I'm pissed, brother. I'm going to miss money because you can't show up. So I don't know who he's listening to, and again, I wish him the best. I hope he's able to figure it out and what he's dealing with. I'm not making light of that situation, but again, folks, at the end of the day, if you commit to something, you've got to follow through it. And if you've got some hardships, you've got to communicate that and find a plan outside of that.
Or just speak to us.
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on through your agency. Tell us, give us something that we're just not sitting here wonder why you're not playing. You're just, I don't know, give us something.
Coleman produced 8 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 12 pressures, and 2 fumble recoveries last year for the Nittany Lions. He did so in 9 appearances, led all FBS freshmen in pass rush grade at a 90.3 per PFF. Did battle a couple of injuries, was in and out of the lineup last year. But again, Penn State had a loaded group themselves on that defensive front. So you got some sparing moments from Coleman. Was a 5-star prospect in the transfer portal. They don't give those out to anyone. And a lot of that was based off of the potential of what he could be. But now it might just stay at potential and what could have been, because it's likely headed to a divorce, at least as things currently seem. So Chaz Coleman will continue to eye this story as it develops in Knoxville. And for Tennessee's case, you need a resolution sooner rather than later, because you don't want this encroaching into fall camp, and when you begin that in late July and August. So, again, wish him the best. Hope he's able to figure out. Would love for him to play at Tennessee, but you have to hold a standard. You have to set a culture standard, and can't allow guys to walk all over you. You've had it done before. Can't do it again. When we come back on the other side, we'll flip to the NBA playoffs. Game 7. The Spurs win in OKC, and now we've got a finals that a lot of people are excited about. San Antonio and New York. We'll break that down when we return right here on the Playbook.
For the fans, by the fans, this is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Are you ready for the start of a new season? Maybe looking for your team to go on a tournament run? Get game day ready with Crumble. Head on over to your nearest location and pick up 12 pre-selected cookies plus exclusive toppers. When you're looking for dessert options, there's no question about who you should call on. Our listeners already know. Last year, the Dubai chocolate was a home run, along with the brownie batter. Oreo crumb was another crowd favorite. What new flavor will set the standard this season? If you're in the Knoxville area, there are 3 locations ready to serve you: Clinton Highway, Parkside Drive, and Maryville. Download the Crumble app to build your best lineup and vote on the best combos. You can even put your bid in to request a new flavor. Order in the app and slide on over to your nearest location. Tell them Fan Run sent you, and as always, it's for the fans, by the fans. Don't miss the cookies.
White Claw is taking hard seltzer to new heights with White Claw Surge. At 8% alcohol, White Claw Surge is a stronger wave of refreshment that doesn't compromise on taste. Available in 4 bold waves of flavor like ripe blackberry, citrusy blood orange, zesty natural lime, and tart cranberry. Check out your favorite retailer in-store and online for the White Claw Surge Variety 12-pack and 16-ounce single-serve cans. White Claw Surge. Please drink responsibly.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Wilco at Knoxville Smiles. Have you ever wanted to improve the look of your smile? We know firsthand what the power of a great smile means to a person's confidence and health. Our team of doctors can provide you with an array of options for helping you achieve your cosmetic goals. From simply moving teeth into a better position, to reversible cosmetic bonding, to full mouth implant-supported dentures. It is our goal to help patients feel good about their appearance while achieving optimal health. Want to learn more? Call us at 865-539-1776 to schedule an evaluation, or visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com.
Running a business, coaching a team, planning your next big event, you need more than just gear. You need SM Athletics and Logo Solutions. Custom uniforms, branded apparel, promotional products, done right, done fast, and built to show off your brand with pride. From local businesses to high schools to major universities, SM Athletics is trusted by winners. Get real service, get real quality, get noticed. SM Athletics and Logo Solutions, where your brand comes to life.
Visit smathletics.com and let's build something great together.
Fan Run Radio, the flagship station for Tennessee fans.
This ain't no wishy-washy, limp-wristed, kale-eating, half-ass sports radio station.
We're your in-your-face, truth-telling, say it loud, flag-waving, face-painting, hardcore, bring the noise, causing a ruckus, don't give a damn sports station.
Sports talk that doesn't just hang up and listen.
For the fans. This is Fan Run Radio.
Get some.
All right, back here on the Playbook. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this fine Monday from Knoxville, Tennessee. Coming up in 26 minutes, it's The Drive with Russell Smith, Bob Baskerville, the Bear, and Walker Smith. They'll round out your Monday here in K-Town. A little bit of an update real quick. The Lady Vols drop to Texas 5-2. They got a second crack at it, though. This will be an elimination game, win or go home, coming up next for Tennessee. That'll be against Texas as well. I think it starts in 20 to 30 minutes. But now Lady Vols title berth hopes in the balance.
You got to swing the bat right there, don't you?
Yeah, you think.
Bases loaded.
You think. But still a really impressive run for the Lady Vols, regardless of how today ends. But you'd like to get back to the national title game with the type of roster. With the type of roster you have. But now your cushion has been popped, and now it's...
But Pickens didn't throw.
Yes.
Pickens is going, I guess, this afternoon for sure.
Yes. So let's now pivot over to the NBA Finals, NBA playoffs, as the defending champs have been defeated, facing a hostile crowd in Oklahoma City. The San Antonio Spurs showed no signs of nerves, using a balanced attack, excellent three-point shooting, and a stingy defense to pull out a 111-103 victory in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals on Saturday night. The Spurs now advance to the NBA Finals for a chance to win their 6th NBA championship and their first since 2014. They'll have to get past the New York Knicks to do so, with Game 1 set for Wednesday in San Antonio. Victor Wembanyama named the Western Conference Finals MVP. He had 22 points and 7 rebounds, but received major contributions from his supporting cast. De'Aaron Fox had his perhaps best game of the series, consistently hitting big shots to stop the Thunder runs. He had 15 points, 5 assists, and 3 steals. And Julian Champagnie, he had 20 points and added in 6 rebounds. Luke Cornett, the Vanderbilt product, had a pin block on Isaiah Hartenstein under 2 minutes to go. And overall, this was just the Spurs supporting cast stepping up in big moments and leaning on their 7-foot alien and Victor Wembanyama, 2-time reigning MVP for OKC. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he had 35 points, leading all scorers, also had 9 assists, but it was not enough to overcome a varied Spurs attack. And takeaways from that one are this. Chet Holmgren, interesting offseason ahead for him.
Bye.
Wembanyama took that matchup head on from Game 1 of this series, and Holmgren was basically nothing throughout this whole series. And I've seen this happen before. I don't want to go to the extreme lengths of saying this is what's going to happen, But I saw Ben Simmons not too long ago as a young player was ascending in the right direction. They might not have won an NBA championship at the time, but he was trending in the right direction. And quickly things unraveled for him in that series against the Hawks, and he ended up now he's now a boater. He's a fisherman. He was in a fishing competition about a month ago. So that's how quickly things can turn. If you turn into a liability, you will not see the court. And putting up 2 shots in 33 minutes and a win-or-go-home Game 7 for your third best player, your second best player on the team with Jay Will hurt, unacceptable, embarrassing. And for Chet Holmgren, it's time to tighten things up. You're not going to be a center, at least when you play against the Spurs. You got to find a way to be productive somehow. I thought that was a huge storyline here. You give credit to Alex Caruso, the way he played. He's a warrior. He's a dog. He's a battler, and you need guys like that on your team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, when he's playing ethical basketball, he's one of the best in the world. And I thought you saw a lot of that in this game, even though there were a couple of moments where he was doing that foul baiting crap, and the refs kind of leaned off on the whistle a little bit, and that's a good thing. But for Chet Holmgren, it's wake up. Shave that beard, quit being a celebrity, and wake up. Because that was a bad performance, and this was a bad series for him. And oh, by the way, that 5-year, $250 million extension clocks in this summer. You'll be on the trading block pretty soon if you don't turn things around. And Oklahoma City's got the capital to be able to ship him away too. They could ship him away for some picks and say we'll give you all these first rounders. We're getting off this kid. I'm not saying that's the point yet where it's going.
He's good against everybody else. He's going to have to deal with Wembanyama at some point if he's going to stay on this team.
But, if San Antonio is the team to beat in the West for Oklahoma City moving forward, and you can't do it with Chet Holmgren, you could get moved. So my big takeaway, Chet Holmgren.
Well, they're not even asking him to guard him.
Yeah.
Hartenstein's out there battling him. It's not – I don't know. I can't stand the guy, so personally it's whatever.
Yeah, I think – it kind of feels like this might be your Western Conference Finals for maybe the next 5-10 years. And I think if Chet's not up to the plate for this matchup, you gotta, if he's not there for Wemby, if that's his Achilles heel, then you gotta do something with him. I think he's a top 10 center in the league at this point. But if you're not up for the challenge against Wembanyama, if you're not even gonna go out there and attempt to guard him, I think that's telling for what the coaches think about him. I think it's a huge problem. I think you can get good quality out of him in the trade market. I think if it keeps going this way, that might be what you have to do. But I think honestly, what won this game for San Antonio is what's won them the games against OKC in the past. I think it's you let Shai get his, because 2-time MVP, he's going to go out there and get his. We saw when the whistles held off. Like you said, he didn't foul bait as much. He didn't do that. I think Shai's one of the best players in the NBA, probably the best player in the NBA when he plays that way. Watching Shai play, as much as I don't like the kid, he's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to go out and do what he does. And when he doesn't, he goes out there and he scores 35. I think. But back to what I said, like they did what they played one-on-one against Shai. They didn't send as many double teams at him. They kind of let him get his, and they kept an Alex Caruso from scoring 30, or they kept a Hartenstein from getting a 15. I think that's the way you beat this Thunder team, and I think San Antonio has kind of been the thorn in the side of OKC the entire season, and I think it's finally come to pass here, pushing them into the NBA Finals, and I think this is going to be a good Finals that we got coming up. I'm really excited.
Garrett, your takeaways from San Antonio and Oklahoma City, Game 7 on Saturday.
Yeah, Chet was obviously the main one. 4 points, 4 rebounds. And you talk about the parallel to Ben Simmons, the inability to shoot the basketball is kind of, that was the thing about Ben Simmons that you saw of the series you were talking about Atlanta. That was the series where he had the wide open layup that he passed out to the top of the key or to the corner or whatever, when he could have easily laid it in or dunked it and was afraid to shoot the basketball. So definitely a horrible performance for Chet. But I think the Spurs they're a complete team. Like Julian Champagnie was a guy that was cut a few years ago and now has been shooting the 3-point ball really good this season. And in this playoffs, Dylan Harper is as good as a role player for a rookie as you can be. And then, obviously Stephon Castle's been in the league for a few years now out of UConn, but I mean, that guy's also kind of a walking bucket. And then obviously you have De'Aaron Fox, who's been in the league for a while, had a lot of years in Sacramento. I mean, it's just a team that, like, yes, they're young, but they seem to play. They don't play like a young team. They play like they're veterans, even though a lot of these guys that are in the starting five have not been in the league longer than 4 or 5 years. Obviously, you have Cornette and guys like that on the back end that have played a little bit more time. And then you obviously have Harrison Barnes, a leader on the bench, doesn't play much, but I think that's a voice in your huddle and in your locker room that you could use, a guy that was on, a Warriors championship team. But I think it's going to be a really good series too. I think everyone was all playoffs thought the Western Conference team was going to win, whether it was going to be OKC or the Spurs, whoever got to the finals would win. But I mean, the Knicks have not lost a game since Game 4 of the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs to the Hawks. They've won 11 games in a row. They're playing as good as any team has really in NBA playoff history to win 11 games in a row. So I think this is going to be a great series, and I would not be surprised if the Knicks won this because, I mean, history kind of does tell you usually the older team, and Brunson and Cat and a lot of those guys have been around a long time. Adobe's been around, a few years. That seems like the team that maybe in there would do it. And the Spurs are obviously going to have many more chances. This is not going to be the first time that this team is in the NBA Finals. So I think you could see a 7-game series out of this one.
Brett, what about you? I know LBJ's not in it, so it's not going to be as fun, but
No.
What do you make of this Knicks and Spurs NBA Finals series?
Well, I'm going to enjoy it a lot more than watching Thunder Knicks, that's for sure. It's really good. I mean, the last time the Knicks were in the finals, they played the Spurs, I guess, 99. So should be fun. Obviously, the matchup everybody's going to talk about is, I mean, the point guard matchup's elite, and Wemby versus Towns is elite. It's probably going to come down to who matches that. I'm interested to see how Towns fares with Wemby, getting his 3-point shot off. A big like Wemby can guard the perimeter. It could be tough for Towns, which I think ultimately could make it tough for the Knicks. I honestly think the Spurs are going to win in probably 5. I think they're playing that well. I still wonder if the Knicks are playing really well, but I wonder how much they've actually been tested by some of these teams in the East. So I like the Spurs to win in 5 personally.
And I might have been foreshadowing, but we've had the graphic for the conference finals over the last 3 weeks, and the 2 players I had on there was Jalen Brunson on the left side and Victor Wembanyama on the right. Maybe I kind of forecasted this finals, you could say, but now the stage is set for the 2026 NBA Finals. The Spurs come in after a big win over Oklahoma City, an upset. Well, the New York Knicks are hotter than anyone right now, and they've had a full week to prop their feet up and use the massage gun, maybe play some 2K. They've been chilling, but they're going to have to quickly wake up because Victor Wembanyama is here, and he has arrived. And as you allude to, Brett, that matchup between Karl Anthony Towns and Wembanyama, or maybe we'll see what Mitchell Robinson's availability is. I know he's got a hurt pinky.
Regular season, they put OG on Wembanyama.
Yeah, and you could go OG there too. OG a little bit more physical, maybe trying to knock him off. And kind of because you go back to that Minnesota series, Rudy Gobert is a great matchup for Wembanyama, but when the Spurs had the least amount of success, it's when Wemby was taken out of the paint and had to hover around the 3-point line. So if you're San Antonio, you want to avoid that, but if you're OG Anunoby, you want to keep Wemby running around. You want to keep him on the perimeter and force him to take those shots. But, as you mentioned, both of these teams, haven't been here in a minute for San Antonio's case. First time since 2014. That's the last time they won it as well.
How well do you think the Knicks can shoot it? Because you saw, the Thunder didn't really want to attack the basket with Wemby down there. But I think that's where Towns comes as the 5. I mean, he draws Wemby out, so maybe that helps.
That's what the Knicks have been doing, though. They've been shooting the lights out of the ball postseason.
I mean, Josh Hart, the scouting report for who was it? I mean, who New York play in the East? Oh, and the Cavs. In the Cavs series, the Cavs just said, we're going to let Josh Hart shoot, and he made his shots. So,
but that was also the Cavs. They don't guard the Spurs guard, 1 through 5 as good as anybody. But yeah, that's what it's come down to. How many shots can the Knicks make? Because Spurs like to put them up too.
If I'm New York, or excuse me, if I'm San Antonio, I'm thinking about matchups here. Mm-hmm. I'd almost put Castle on Brunson and kind of have him roughed up. I don't love De'Aaron Fox on him.
No,
I don't
do that.
Yeah, and I don't love maybe a Harper either because, I mean, Harper is young, but this is a big stage for him. I give him Castle. Castle roughs up guys. So I would look at Castle as a matchup for Brunson. And then for a Josh Hart, you could use the lesser of, whether
That's probably Fox.
A Fox or a Dylan Harper, whoever is on the court during that time.
Yeah.
And then for Wemby, I imagine you'd have him up against Karl Anthony Towns, especially as a 3-point threat that Towns is on the perimeter. I mean, I think the Spurs can match up with this Knicks team well. I think the big question is, can New York really offset the advantage that you get with Wembanyama? And that's why San Antonio's favored in this series currently. The Spurs minus 200 on FanDuel. And then the Knicks are plus 170, or it's going to be plus 168 on FanDuel specifically. But the odds imply San Antonio has, a pretty good shot of winning this one. I imagine this goes to 6 games at least. I think New York's going to get one at home. I imagine game 3, what is it? Does it start in New York?
No, San Antonio.
So game 3, I'd give to New York. I think they'll win that one, regardless of.
So you don't think they can steal one of the first 2?
I think they could get game. I think they could steal either of them. I'm just penciling in New York game 3 as a win. Gotcha. That's going to be a rocking environment.
That's what I was getting. How much do you think playing it? I mean, I know Wembanyama's played everywhere.
Yeah.
And I know in professional sports too, like the home court advantage, like you see other teams come into home courts and beat teams all the time. You just saw it. The Spurs went into OKC and won. But Madison Square Garden for a finals with all the stars that are going to be there. I mean, outside of LA for a Lakers, Western Conference Finals or a finals there. I mean, MSG is the premier arena in the world. Everyone knows what Madison Square Garden is. Everyone knows how much the tickets are going to be. Everybody knows who's going to be there, all the actors and the stars. I don't want to say it's going to be an adjustment for Wembanyama, but that's something he's never seen because Madison Square Garden, when their team is in the finals, and New York has been waiting for this moment for so long, that's going to be the biggest home court advantage in the NBA that you've seen in recent history.
I totally agree. Madison Square Garden's going to be a madhouse. And it was during the the Cavs series. They were down 18 points. They were going nuts.
Yeah.
Obviously, they came back and won that game, but the crowd pops there were awesome. And I anticipate that for this series as well. Spurs and Knicks. They're going to get things started on Wednesday. Going to be a great series, though. Really lucky to have this one. When we come back, we'll wrap things up. Our final thoughts. Stay right here. It's the Playbook on Fan Run Radio.
Congratulations. You found sports radio that doesn't suck. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Citizens National Bank. Life is more fun with a Good Life account, offering extra benefits, including bank travel. Experience the trip of a lifetime to Ireland. Explore rolling green hills, historic castles, and charming villages across the Emerald Isle. Get in on the fun. Call 865-429-7935 today.
Citizens National Bank. Banking never felt so good.
Member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Wilco at Knoxville Smiles. Have you ever wanted to improve the look of your smile? We know firsthand what the power of a great smile means to a person's confidence and health. Our team of doctors can provide you with an array of options for helping you achieve your cosmetic goals. From simply moving teeth into a better position, to reversible cosmetic bonding, to full mouth implant-supported dentures. It is our goal to help patients feel good about their appearance while achieving optimal health. Want to learn more? Call us at 865-539-1776 to schedule an evaluation, or visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com.
All right, back here on the Playbook, wrapping things up on a Monday. We appreciate you hanging out with us. A busy edition of TB today, as we've had so many transfer portal entrants, and the Lady Vols now headed to a game 2 with Texas. Chaz Coleman, everyone wants to know what he's doing. A lot going on a Monday. But we appreciate you listening along with us. Final thoughts right before we hand you off to the drive from 3 to 6. Russell Smith, Bob Baskerville, the Bear, and Walker Smith will take you the rest of the way. I was scrolling last night, as I usually do before going to bed, and I wanted to get you guys' opinion, or just even see if you guys know of this. So, Relish in Chicago is very green. Have you guys ever been to Chicago before? I guess I'll start with that. You have?
I have, yeah.
And this guy was making a hot dog, one of those street dogs, right?
Yep.
And the relish was like green, like food coloring green. And I was like, who the hell is eating that?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently it has been something that has been done for years. And it's characterized as, Chicago style relish. Apparently back in the day, it wasn't green enough and it was like too bad of a color. So now they put food coloring in it to make it look greener. But I was, wondering, obviously you guys are bigger baseball fans than I am. Thinking of ballpark dogs. I'm going to the Braves game this Saturday, so it's kind of on my mind of ballpark food and stuff like that. What's the best ballpark bite that you've ever had? And I know you were in Hoover not too long ago. Maybe it came from there, maybe not. But Garrett, to you, your best ballpark bite, and does it include the green relish in Chicago?
Went to a Blue Jays game one time in Toronto and had poutine, which is, I don't know, it's like fries and
gravy,
and like basically if you have like a cheese curd, but it's not fried, it's just the cheese. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, poutine. That's a good Canadian, kind of a French cuisine. I like that. Caleb, to you, any ballpark bites that bring you back?
I've not really gotten around much. I've probably only been, I'm not a big MLB guy, but I go to some Braves games sometimes with my dad. I've been to a couple of Reds games, but honestly, those pulled pork nachos at Lindsey Nelson are hard to beat. Like obviously I'm sure there's better out there, and I see the Dodgers food all the time on my Instagram, so like that stuff looks amazing, but it's hard to beat. It's hard to beat some comfort food like that at Lindsey Nelson with some barbecue pulled pork nachos.
Yeah. Brett, any ballpark or game foods?
I was trying to find. I went to a Arsenal match, a soccer match, a couple of years ago, and I was trying to find what I had over there, because they obviously it's different what they put in their little.
Oh yeah.
Like you call. I think I had these 2 sausage rolls. They call them like pies over there.
Mm-hmm.
They were pretty good.
Little hand pies.
Yeah, a little like almost like an egg roll type looking thing. And they were delicious. But I was trying to find this other thing I had, and I can't seem to find it right now. But yeah, over there they do things a little differently. So, but it's still all real good.
I will say, I hit on the Tennessee Titans a good bit. Worst stadium in the NFL is Nissan Stadium in its current existence. I will say, on the second level, they've got a really good chicken fajita nacho, and I had it at the Jags game this year. It was so good I had to go back for seconds. So that's my best recent bite that I've had. Rendezvous barbecue nachos, but I'd always get the no sauce, just the rub. I don't want the sauce, because the sauce would probably mean I'd be a little bit longer to get to the parking lot.